Maybe you're thinking, well, Kirtley, just camp where you want. I mean, it's a wilderness, it's not even a park, you're on Crown land. True. The other thing you might be wondering is, why the hell does Kirtley have such a massive coffee pot with him when it's a solo trip? This is all quite ledgy, like drop off. I think I'm going to line it. Black bear, don't know what sex, medium size.
Coffee time!
I'm feeling quite tired this morning. Didn't have a great night's sleep. There were lots of thunderstorms through the night again last night. Heavy rain, wind. Not that that bothers me, it doesn't worry me, but I just woke up, you know, when it's quiet and then you get the thrashing of the rain on your tent and you wake up and then you go back to sleep and then it's a thunderclap and you wake up, and yeah, there was a lot of that last night. So yeah, I'm feeling quite tired this morning. I did reasonable distance yesterday, didn't feel particularly demanding. I did have a tailwind, just don't think I had the best night's sleep. The other thing actually, since the beginning of this trip, my air mattress, which I've really liked until, well, I've really liked, it's a good one, It's not a Thermarest, it's another make. It's a Cedar Summit, full length. It's a bit thicker than some mats, but it's not as thick as those big X-bed ones. And I really like it. It's a nice compromise between, because often you're camping on rock here, and it's a nice compromise between like ultra lightweight backpacking, like my 3/4 length Pro Light Thermarest, which is super light, not super comfy here. So with the X-bed mats are really comfy, you know, they're like the down-filled ones or the synthetic filled ones, but they're a bit bulky and they make a real noise when you move around on them, and I feel a little bit like I'm on an airbed. And I've tried those, the baffles blew on mine anyway. So anyway, this Cedar Summit's been really good until this trip, when it's been deflating. And the first night it sort of deflated a bit during the night, and now it's deflating, it deflates in like 2 hours. So I'm blowing it up several times during the night, and I'm just trying now to choose camp spots where I put my tent on moss or lichen or even a little bit of earth, so that when the mat goes down it's not as cold and it's not as hard, and I don't immediately wake up. So I'm contending with that. I mean, first world problems, eh? It's not a big deal. But I feel like I need my coffee this morning, so I'm going to go and have my coffee. The other thing you might be wondering is, why the hell does Kirtley have such a massive coffee pot with him when it's a solo trip? Well, I did ask for a small percolator, but this is what I got from the outfitter. Better to be able to make too much coffee than not enough, I guess. Lower Conjuring Falls. I landed back there, I've lined down here. There's a short portage over the rocks. There's a little channel there which is barely running. I'm just going to see if I can slide the boat down that. If not, I'll just take the bits out and lug them over. But yeah, that's in some ways the main obstacle for today, other than Grey Willow Falls, which is where I'm aiming to camp anyway, just below that. This is Kettle Falls. Hap's got it as a grade 2 on this side, staying close to the island. You can't stay close to the island because the flow is less. That's water's coming out of that, but there's a bit of a stopper there. Not sure I like that very much. Just landed at this camp spot opposite Grey Willow Falls. Pretty spectacular. It's a grey day today, but it's still a spectacular spot. I'm liking it already. They're a little bit old perhaps, but there's a few little raspberries here. That one's got a spider on it. Get off, spider. Alright, spider, you can have that one. There's a few more. Some of them might be edible. That one's a bit past it. That one's okay. There's another one. not fab. There's a few more in there. I'll have a bit of a look later on. Well, this is where I'm staying tonight. Recommended by the only other people that I've seen on this whole trip, which is on the portage between the portage at the bottom of Night Owl Lake, so the portage around Night Owl Rapids, the 500-meter portage, which is the longest portage on the whole trip actually. I met two people paddling tandem who were coming upriver, and you can do that with these rivers because they're like a canal and lock system. I mean, if you're portaging upstream or downstream, it doesn't really matter, and there isn't a ton of flow in the channels apart from near to the Swift, so you can kind of up and down, which is why these types of rivers were used for trade routes, fur trade, etc, etc, and trade routes before that. People travelled up and down these rivers. It's obviously easier if you can line, but a lot of the lining that you can do with a modern plastic boat, I'm not sure you'd want to be doing with a birch bark canoe anyway, because they're quite resilient. Not that you want to be rough with them. I've been as gentle as possible with this one, but there are some things that you pull, you know, sills and things that you'd pull a plastic boat over, that because of the joins in the birch bark canoes, you wouldn't necessarily want to pull those over those sills. So whether you're traveling upstream or downstream, doesn't really matter. You've got to kind of carry the boat in the same places, carry the gear in the same places. So traditionally you could go up and down these in the same way as you can take a canal boat up and down a canal system, say in the UK, sort of with the locks, and whether you're over near Manchester or around the back of London or wherever, those systems are there still. People still use them, and these rivers are like that. So anyway, they were coming upstream, I was coming downstream. They recommended this place, and it doesn't disappoint. The view is quite fab, and I'm going to go and check out the site up there, see what it's like, what the camping's actually like too. Well, this is a winner. There's some blueberries here as well, and quite good ones actually, not juicy ones. Whoopsie. Actually, they're some of the best flavoured ones I've had on the whole trip. I'm going to get some more of those later on. They're good. Well, this is what the camping's like. It's a bit breezy here on the point. Southerly wind still. I'm happy for it to stay like that now. If it's going to stay that strong, I can stay in the south. We'll just walk out to the west fire site there. Some nice camping in the woods, just on the edge here. This is the sort of camping I was hoping for on this trip. I've had a few sites like this on the Blood Vein, which are really quite lovely, particularly ones that are by rapids or near falls. I've not had any sites like this so far on this trip. A lot of the campsites have been a little bit scrappy, quite small, quite rocky, not even necessarily easy to find in some cases. And some of you, maybe you're thinking, well, Kirtley, just camp where you want. I mean, it's a wilderness, it's not even a park, you're on Crown land. True, I could camp wherever I wanted, and that's one of the nice things about traveling in this environment, because when you want, you can just stop. Like, you don't have to abide by access laws, or you don't have to pre-book campsites, you don't have to stay on particular places. You can camp where you like, but as you've probably seen if you've been paying attention to the surroundings, it's quite densely foliated in a lot of places. There's a lot of marshland, there's a lot of muskeg, there's a lot of places that's just full of small firs, small spruces, small jack pines. You can't even get in there to put a tent or a tarp up. And then of course you've got the insects. The best places to camp are the slightly breezy places. So I'm complaining a little bit, saying, oh well, it's a bit breezy on the bluff there, but I know that I'm not going to get a lot of mozzies there until quite late on in the day if that breeze stays up. But as soon as you get back here in the woods and it's still and it's a bit more humid, particularly after last night's rain, you're going to get more bugs, even towards the tail end of the season, which is where I am now. So there are some sites that just make more sense as campsites. If they're on a portage, you've already got your gear out the boat. There's already a trail there. If it's on a bluff and it's sticking out a bit, it's going to be more breezy. There's less foliation here, so you can get a tent here, and because this is used, you get that virtuous circle that you can get in here. So you tend to gravitate towards sites that are used and have been used traditionally, because you know that you can get your tent in there, you can get a fire there, you're not having to actually cut into the bush just to camp. And that's before you start considering animals, etc, etc. It's an established site that has everything that you need. There's plenty of resources back there if you need them, in terms of firewood or pot hangers or anything that you might need. And you've got a site here which is breezy, it's bug free, you've got clear spaces to put down a tent, you've got good spacing between the trees to put up a tarp. It just works. So yes, you can camp anywhere where you want, but there are some places which just make more sense. And in case people have been wondering, that's one of the reasons why I keep referring to campsites or camp spots, because there are some that are traditionally used, there are some that are marked in Hap Wilson's guidebook. Not all of those are particularly good, not all of those seem to exist, and there are plenty more that aren't in Hap's guide. So if you're thinking about paddling the Berens, there are more camping spots than are in Hap's guide. But as I say, they tend to not all be equally, they're not regularly spaced. You tend to get clusters of them and then nothing. And that's partly due to the landscape. A lot of what I've paddled through today is quite flat water, and it's marshy on the sides. It's rice, wild rice, and then boggy ground, and nobody in their right mind would camp in there. And so you're not going to get camps in those spots. And then here, there was a camp spot back there on one of the islands, Kettle Falls. There's a camp spot here 2k further down, and so it makes sense where the campsites are. It's just that they don't necessarily occur periodically in the way that you'd like them to, so you have to kind of pace your days to fit that. Challenging. The wind dropped, and I decided to have the fire out here because I thought it'd be a nice evening, and now the wind's got back up again. I've scraped up the surface of that with a knife. Tried to keep as many of the shavings attached as possible. Let's see what happens. There we go. It wasn't even the shavings that took, actually. And those. Fire steel and knife away. Mixture of spruce and juniper going in. A nice spare birch bark left over. Put in my pocket for another time. Whoa! Got some more spruce to stuff in here. Once that doesn't take my freaking eyebrows off. There we go.
With the rain coming on, it was a very low-key evening. Dinner, then bed, and a very good night's sleep.
Fruity, this one. Colombian Summit. That's the best one yet. 3 different types.
There'd been heavy rain through the night. Fortunately at this point it wasn't raining, so it was humid and I didn't have to wear a waterproof and I could get the firewood sorted, but that dry spell was short-lived. There were some heavy showers after this and then I got the fire going.
This is wet. Starting to feel a little autumnal. You know, the fall colours are just around the corner. You've got the birches on the edges starting to turn yellow. I noticed these yesterday when I was coming up to camp. They look like a little maple leaf, but they're actually something that's in the gooseberry family. Some sort of gooseberry or possibly a currant. Now they're not spiky on the stems, which tends to suggest to me that they're probably a currant rather than a gooseberry, but I haven't actually seen. Actually look, here's a little spiky. They're the size of a red currant but spiky, a bit like a gooseberry. So I found these, and there's one here that's a bit fatter, a bit more like a gooseberry. Lots on little racemes like red currants and black currants back at home, and that's quite a nice little find. Yeah. This is all quite ledgy, like drop off. I think I'm going to line it over that side. Going to go back round, go down the side, just line it down the side, I think. Don't like the look of that. There's probably a line down the edge there. But
looking at this footage in the cold light of day as I edit this, I can see that I'm setting myself up here for a bit of a mess. In retrospect, I should have had 2 lines on the boat because it goes off at an angle, and then I'm left with a point of purchase which turns the boat into where I don't want it to be, and I cause myself a problem.
Being careful with that back end. So that was a touch cheeky, but I think it's better than trying to run the line on the other side and filling the boat with water. There's not a lot of room to sort things out before the next flow, and I think it's only maybe a grade 2, but I don't want to be dicking around in here with stuff floating around or my boat upside down or just swamped. This is the easy option. It's about travelling through the environment, not having a Yahoo. Alright, so this is down as a grade 3 in the guidebook, and I can imagine, given this is the whole river going through here, and given this squeeze with more volume, I can imagine that this gets quite big and bouncy. It reminds me of one of the volume squeeze drops on the blood vein, which when it's full, it's a proper 2 meter drop. And you can actually see the high water marks on the rock here on the side. But this level, it's class 1. It's flat as a pancake, but it's always worth checking. Don't take my word for it. If you're looking at this video thinking about doing this trip, you've got to look at these things yourself. And it's interesting, the last 2 rapids in Hap's guide, it said class 1 into class 2 with heavy boils. It was actually a class 2 ledgy drop, a technical class 2 ledgy drop into a class 1 with some boils, so it changes with volume. Don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, but that was Kenkwaka Falls. Nice little class 1 chute really, into something a little bit more like a little strip lake now, about 1.5 km, and then another supposed class 3 rapid coming out the bottom of this. We'll have a look at it, I'll have a look at it and make an assessment. Didn't quite get my camera out in time, just saw a black bear, don't know what sex, medium size, looked in good health. I heard a little snort and I looked up there and then I saw it coming out of the bushes and it didn't see me, and I went to get my camera and I clonked my camera box and it looked at me and then it just went into the bush before I had a chance to film it. First bear I've seen on this trip, and frankly, given them on my own, quite glad of that, but nice to also see them run in the opposite direction. There's space for all of us here, for sure. Well, after quite a few kilometres of paddling against the wind on flat water, I'm at another water feature. I'm at Sturgeon Rapids. This is the left-hand channel that's flowing. There's a more major channel over the other side, which according to the guidebook is up to class 4. I think this is another lining job. I think I can line down the side of it. There is a portage trail over there, but then there's also Sturgeon Falls after this, which is the last major obstacle on the river actually. So I need to line through this and then I'll probably need to portage the falls anyway. Well, just on the portage trail around Sturgeon Falls, on the left hand side of Sturgeon Falls, river left, and yeah, there was something marked on my old map like there might be a trail, and I've come up and it looks like there's a 4-wheel drive truck track. There is unfortunately quite a lot of rubbish here, cans of Budweiser, there's a panty liner there. Yeah, nice. cans of drinks, various packets of crisps and stuff. So yeah, getting closer to the end now. About 20k from the end of the river, I think. Just checking out this portage trails. Even coffee cup lids and things, you know, like take-out coffee cups. Plates, polystyrene plates. Lovely. More cans of Pepsi, more cans of Bud. Bud, I think, is probably the most popular beer on this river. They also don't seem to be Coke drinkers. I've largely seen Pepsi cans where I've seen Pepsi. But here's the left-hand side of Sturgeon Falls. Just turn the camera around, flip the back. There we go. Don't think I'm going to be able to line this one. No, so it's going to be my first portage of the day and possibly my last portage of the trip. It's kind of a homemade barbecue type thing going on there. Yeah, well, it'd be nice to get past this. Pretty spot. Shame people make a mess of it, pardon my French. And again, it's not like we're close to Winnipeg or anywhere. This is still a long way away from anywhere. Well, that's the Sturgeon Falls portage done, and just see the bottom of the falls there a little bit. Now I need to go and find a camp spot for the night, and then tomorrow got a similar distance, about 10k to do, no more than Swifts from now on. Find a camp spot tomorrow night that's not far from the end, and then a short paddle the next day to my pickup, which I hope will be there waiting for me, and then to travel back to Winnipeg. So last of the major obstacles in a way, but I'm not gonna be complacent. Still got 2 nights out left, still got open water, don't know what the weather's doing, animals, etc. So yeah, and just to enjoy the rest of it. I hope that where I'm going is not as messy as this spot. We'll see. The last campsite on rivers is sometimes a bit of a mess. I'm not staying at the last campsite tonight though, and that's partly on purpose. But anyway, last portage done. Yeah, it's been very showery today, on and off. Wind keeps coming up with these squally little showers, and it just makes more sense to be down here and sheltered. Bunch of spruce and balsam fir twigs going on there. I've got bigger ones to go on next. Morning. Well, this is my last proper morning on the river really. Tomorrow's my pickup day, and so I'll be up and off early. I'm not going to have a fire tomorrow morning. I'll just be I'm going to make some pan bread today, and I'll just get up, have some of that and go. But I'm quite cozy here. I mean, it's turned pretty nasty out there. I thought it was going to clear last night. There was some low level cloud blowing through, but it was quite clear above that. But today it's just low level kind of stratus, thick grey cloud blowing through, drizzly rain. The wind's turned around to the northwest, so it's quite sheltered here in my little spot where I've got my tarp. We go around the corner and it's really cold and wet. The wind's kind of coming over from kind of that direction, so I'm kind of sheltered. You can probably hear the trees blowing a little bit, but it's quite nice in here. I've got my little fire going, got like little warm air kind of recirculating round. I've just cooked my eggs with bacon bits, the last of the eggs and the bacon bits. I've got a pot of coffee, and yeah, comfy and warm here. But I don't think it's more than about 10 degrees. I've put a merino on, I've got a fleece on, I've got my ugly low alpine hat on. First day I've needed any of that stuff on during the day, and yeah, here we are. Just goes to show. I mean, we had almost Mediterranean conditions at times. I'd say I had Mediterranean conditions at times on this trip, and yeah, hot, humid conditions and thunderstorms, and now we've kind of got what feels like the beginning of fall or autumn. And I think I commented yesterday with the birch trees, there is that tinge. Feels like fall is just around the corner. Last of the berries still around, some of the sarsaparillas and things and the understory are turning lovely reds. Those gooseberries were turning red. Yeah, starting to get some of those fall colours, starting to feel like that is around the corner. It's the end of August though. It's 27th of August as I'm recording this. Yeah, anyway, I'm going to eat my eggs before they get cold. Big fat pan bread.
If you've been paying particular attention to what I've been saying in this video, you'll notice there's something of an incongruity here. I had originally planned to split the remaining 18 to 20 kilometers into two, do about 10k on this day, find a campsite, and then have a relatively short distance to paddle out to my pickup the following morning. But given the weather was cold and wet, I was cozy here. It's a nice campsite, it's not messy. I decided just to hunker down, stay cozy, cook enough food for breakfast and for lunch the next day, and hope that the weather maybe cleared later on to do a bit of fishing.
Morning. Well, yesterday I planned to have a relaxing day in camp, do some fishing. Nice bend here where it's flowing out into a little lake. Fish are definitely active there this morning, and I thought that would be a great place to fish yesterday, but as you saw yesterday, that sort of windy, wet weather that started the previous night, that sort of on and off showers, that just descended into a proper kind of front coming through of just like grey, thick stratus, rain. The wind from the northwest got a lot stronger. It was just a crappy day. It's the sort of day that you might like to spend sitting inside by a log fire reading your favourite outdoor author, not a day that you want to spend on the riverbank fishing. So I didn't get any fishing done yesterday. I did have my tarp up, I did have my fire under the tarp, and I spent some time there. I got organised, I got breads cooked for yesterday, bread cooked for today. I did brave having a wash later in the afternoon, like a strip wash in the rain down by the water, and the water actually felt, the water in the river was a lot warmer than the air temperature. It actually felt warm getting into the river. That's how cold it was yesterday. The wind was really strong through the night, and I was concerned about this morning. I've got a pickup before noon today, so it's about 6:45 in the morning, about 6:45 here. I'm all packed up, all my gear's packed up, my tent's packed down, my camp's packed down. At the moment the wind has subsided somewhat, the rain has gone after 24 hours of rain, so I am going to scoot. I have got some distance to do to get to the bridge where I'm getting picked up, and that will be the trip. I may have some more reflections on this later on, but it's been a trip of, to coin a cliche, a trip of contrasts, certainly with the weather. It's felt everything from kind of Mediterranean, hot, sunny evenings through to cold, windy, autumnal kind of fall type conditions, all within the space of less than 2 weeks. This is day 12. Seen lots of nature. The only thing I haven't seen that I wished I had seen was a moose. I've seen beaver, I've seen otter, I've seen bald eagles, I've seen various other birds of prey, I've seen a bear, yeah, and I've seen lots of scat, I've seen moose tracks, I've seen moose poo. I've just not seen a moose, but I know that that's relatively rare. I've seen them before, but just not on this trip, unfortunately. So yeah, lots of different contrasting river conditions as well, in terms of everything from riffles, little grade 1 stuff, through to, you know, interesting obstacles to line pass, through to portages, lots of different camps, and yeah, it's been a real interesting trip. I feel a lot stronger now. I was feeling tired in the middle. I feel a lot stronger now, and I feel ready for the next adventure, which is actually coming in a few days time after this trip. So I've got a few days to get my kit dried, a few bit of washing done, and then I'm out straight again for another 2-week river trip. So this time with some company, and I think I will appreciate company more maybe than normal after having spent a couple of weeks on my own. Right, well, that's me packed and all ready to go. Ruby's packed there, Ruby the boat, and yeah, wind is relatively light at the moment on this section, so I'm going to make headway while I can. Well, that's English Rapids. That's the last rapid on the river. I think there's a swift or two, but that's English Rapids, and that is it for rapids on the Berens. Just run it. Just a class 1. So yeah, English Rapids. That's 52 sets of rapids and falls negotiated on this trip. Haven't filmed all of them, of course. Have to just get on with it sometimes. But yeah, been a real variety of features to apply my skills to, which has been good. In a real world situation, it's like a, you know, I'm not playing around close to home. Traveling, having to make judgments, having to negotiate obstacles, apart from the bank there, negotiate obstacles without having seen them before. Okay, with a bit of knowledge from a guidebook, but as we've seen, the guidebook isn't always right, and even when the guidebook is right for a particular time of year, it's not always right for another time of year. So things change all the time, and you've got to apply your own judgment, and that's been one of the great things about this trip, is applying judgment and applying skills in a real world context. So yeah, anyway, so that's quite a, you know, it's only a small rapid, but it's quite a poignant moment that is the last major noted rapid on this river. There's a couple of swifts apparently coming up, and of course we've had other swifts upstream. Ruby and I have had to negotiate, but yeah, that's it. Pretty flat water from now on till the bridge, I think.
I had arranged to be picked up at the bridge which crosses near to the mouth of the Berens River at the Berens River community, right on the eastern shore of Lake Winnipeg, and there you can see the Berens flowing from the top of the picture there out towards the lake. This then marked the end of my journey, and all good things come to an end. Little did I know that my camera battery was also very close to its end when I recorded that last piece to the camera. So it was that I was collected at the bridge, and we had a long drive back south towards the Blood Vein on unmetalled roads, and then onwards to the metalled roads and back to Winnipeg, where I was going to stay overnight. So it was quite a rude departure from the wilderness, being picked up into a vehicle, driven for hours back down to a hotel in Winnipeg where I was going to get cleaned up. But I had a lot of great memories. I had a lot of memories still to sort and lessons to learn, but this was a fantastic trip, and there are a few images from editing this footage from this trip that really stick in my mind. One was at the beginning of the trip, sitting there looking out over Night Owl Lake, and just the peace and the quiet and the warmth as well. At that point it was a lovely evening, and then I took the effort to get a piece of footage where I was paddling across one of the lakes as well, and that to me just summed up the wilderness in this part of the world, the boreal forest and the splendour of this pristine environment. And I very much hope to visit this part of the world again for more wilderness adventures. If you've liked this video, please click the like button. Of course, please subscribe to my channel for more videos like this in the future. I've certainly got more wilderness adventures planned where I aim to bring you along in a virtual sense like this. And if you've enjoyed this video and you haven't seen the first 3 in this series, the links are below. Please check those out. Also, if you'd like to get hold of Hap Wilson's guide to the wilderness rivers of Manitoba, I've put a link to that below this video as well. So thanks again for watching. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on future adventures as well as skills for adventures on my channel, and I look forward to sharing more of the wilderness, more of the skills and more of the experiences with you in the future. Take care.